Welcome to the Second Time Around podcast with LaShan and Michaela Mims, a weekly conversation about love, life, and marriage from the perspective of a couple who are taking the journey a second time around.
But I thank God in all I lost, I found you. As I give you this ring, just know you're my greatest blessing. All the good and the bad will make this love true.
Hey family, welcome back to the Second Time Around podcast. I am one of your hosts, Michaela Mims. You can call me Michaela, you can call me Kayla. My kids call me Mom, Mama. Grandbabies call me Mimi. I'm sure you all don't want to call me Mimi, but I am one half of the hosting team of this podcast, and I am going to turn it over to the handsome part of the hosting team. Who are you?
Hey, family. This is LaShan Mims. I am the other half of the team. You can call me Sean, Pastor Sean. The grandkids call me Papa.
Papa.
Papa. But whatever you feel comfortable with is what I'll go by. All right, just keep it clean.
That part.
Yeah, keep it clean. Yeah, and this is our first episode.
Episode 1.
Yes, the first episode of the Second Time Around, where we talk about life, love, and family. The second time around.
Yes.
Yep, that's what we do.
Why are we doing this podcast?
We are doing this podcast because we have so much experience and so many life stories.
Yep.
First of all, in our relationship, in our short time being married of 7 years.
7 years.
But also in our dating of over 12 years.
Yes.
There's so many different things that we thought would be good for other couples to hear. Just felt like there is not a space for couples who have been married the second time around to laugh about some things, to also cry about some things, and to also understand where they've made maybe some mishaps, some mistakes. I think part of growing, Michaela, is to be able to recognize where you have made some mistakes. It can't always be the other person.
So true.
Can't always.
So true.
Can't always be the other person. With God, you can realize for yourself that, you know what, I was deficient in this area of my life.
Right.
And I did make some mistakes.
I am so glad that you made that statement about how long we've been together, because last time I said almost 12 and you said almost 13, and I had to pause and go, now wait a minute, I know I can count. But that's okay. That actually feels good, because one of the things I say to Sean all the time, because we have some people that we know in common from our growing up days in San Francisco, is, where were you? Where were you? Why did it take you so long? No, man. I don't know where you were. I'm not really sure. We had some friends in common that we didn't even know. There were times when you were over the hill from the house that I grew up in, and you were not there. Where were you?
I was there.
No, sir.
I was there. Just, I'm also a writer, and I always think of stories where people are in the same vicinity and they fall in love. You're going to see it. You're going to see this story come out. Your movie screen, in a book, somewhere. Yes. Because I think about that all the time, that people being in the same places could just pass one another. And then later in life, they're like, well, I was there. I was there too. How come I didn't see you?
I was nervous. I didn't know where you were going with that. So for those of you who don't know Sean, he has a lot of skills, and one of them is comedic timing. And so sometimes I just don't know what's going to come out of his mouth, and I just have to shake my head.
That's not true.
That's true. And then there are times during the day I'm like, you know what? That's it. I'm done talking to you.
No, don't believe the hype.
There are times when I'm like, I'm done talking to you for the day. He typically will make it into the evening hours, but there are times when it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done talking to you. But enough of our silliness, but this is who we are. This is our personality as a couple. And so we genuinely hope that you are able to draw from this podcast some tools that can help you along the way and maybe collapse the learning curve for you when you are getting married for the second time. This is our origin series, right? So we're kicking off episode 1 with where we came from, where are people from, what it was like growing up. And so we're going to start with Sean today, and he's going to tell you about how he grew up and where he grew up. You got a little bit of that in the preview episode, but now you get to hear a little more in depth because we want you to see the differences in how we grew up and how we saw love and how we saw marriage play out in front of us. So I'm going to be quiet. Where you come from, sir? Where your people from?
I come from San Francisco, California.
Bay Area.
I am a Bay kid.
Yes.
We're going to say I'm a drill in. So we're going to go San Francisco, Bayview, then we're going to go to Double Rock.
Uh-oh. Not too rock.
Yes, Double Rock. Double Rock is a very interesting place.
I'm going to leave that alone.
That's it. That's where we're going to leave it at. That's where we're going to leave it at. Had a wonderful family on both sides, on my mother's side and on my father's side. I think I spend more time on my mother's side than my father's side. Does not mean that I love them any less. Just happen to be a little partial to them, you know. Here's a very interesting thing is that they both sets of families are from the same area. My mother's parents lived in Double Rock, and my father's parents lived in Bayview. They came from Hunters Point, so which is, I'm going to say 2 minutes away, basically.
Help the people know the difference, though, because this younger group of people think it's one and the same, and it's not.
It's not. Bayview is the area. Hunters Point is the higher ground of Bayview. Double Rock is what we would call the valley side. Then on the other side of that is Hollister, which goes up, is a higher ground. So Double Rock is the middle ground of Bayview. A lot of people get that wrong. Everybody say, oh, you know, you from Hunters Point. No. Even though, now see, I don't want to go into all that. There's some,
leave that alone. Leave that there.
That's before Christ. So
listen, that's like,
but anyway,
45 and up. 45 and up.
So it is the middle ground. And wonderful childhood. A lot of family. Grew up in the 70s. So everybody who is 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, you had family all around. Everybody, your cousin, everybody is related.
Like cousin.
Yeah. So a lot of family, a lot of things. When I was in the 4th grade, beginning the 4th grade, I am an only child. So my parents decided that the Bay Area, they did not want their son. When we had this conversation after many years, they said the real reason of moving out of the Bay Area to the Sacramento area was because they did not want me to grow up fully in the Bay Area. Like I said, around the 70s, 80s.
It got tough, huh?
Got tough. These streets got tough. One of the things, and I just want to, let you know where I'm from. So we don't gang bang. We set trip. So,
oh, Lord.
We didn't gang bang. We set trip. So it was all about sets. Praise God. Anyway, so we moved to Sacramento 19.
Was that pre-Christian?
Yeah, pre-Christian. We moved to Sacramento in 1980. Culture shock. Culture shock. It was ridiculous. As I said in the preview episode, it was hot. First of all, I've never seen heat waves actually with my eyes, but I saw them. First year of school, we're in PE. I'm seeing waves just going across and I'm like, it's that hot out here. Our house.
With my eyes,
Yeah. I didn't never understand how you have PE in 110 heat.
Hey.
You know, you got to get your exercise, I guess. But we lived in the neighborhood where our house probably was like one of two on the block. We had this great big field to the side of our house with these trees. So it was like a jungle right on the side of our house. So in our kitchen window, we just opened the window and was nothing. It had train tracks about a mile down. And as I said,
kind of like what we got now.
Yeah. And as I said in the preview episode, there were jackrabbits.
Lord.
Jackrabbits. I never seen a jackrabbit till I moved to Sacramento.
I wouldn't think you would in the city.
Yeah. So grew up back and forth, Sacramento, San Francisco, had anytime, before cars and driving and all that, I caught the Greyhound.
How about that?
The Greyhound every Friday.
No Lyft, no Uber.
No, the Greyhound. And my parents would say, you make sure you sit in the front. Now, don't.
By the bus driver?
Yeah, by the bus driver. Just in case something jump off, something break off, you want to be right by the bus driver. Because folks coming from Reno. All right? Oh, yeah. So I would go back and visit my family and have a great time every holiday and every 4-day weekend, and every time school was out, I'm right in San Francisco.
So you had pretty large family on both sides, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them were married couples.
Yeah. So my dad was one of 6 children, and my mom was one of 5. Yeah. So we had a pretty big family. Now I don't, some families are bigger, but it was a pretty big family. A lot of cousins, a lot of uncles. Everybody was pretty much married. And
so you had that example pretty much from birth, right? Of seeing couples together and married for very long marriages.
Yeah.
Right.
Very, very long marriages.
How long were your grandparents married? Grandma, Grandpa Bolton.
Right. So Grandma and Grandma Bolton, my grandmother passed away
2020.
2020. So they were married over 50 years, about 60
crazy
years.
What about Grandma and Grandpa Mims?
And Grandma and Grandpa Mims were over 50 also.
Wow.
Yeah. And everybody kind of followed suit in the family, married and doing their thing. And, we had a tradition of my parents, they make sure they be fair to everyone. So they would, Thanksgiving, we going here, Christmas, we going here. We don't want to be away from our families on Christmas or whatever. So we created a holiday of Christmas Eve.
Yes.
So Christmas Eve, we would go over to my Grandma Bolton's and we would have as if it was Christmas.
Yes.
And then on Christmas Day, we would go to Grandma Mim's house and have a spread there. And then on New Year's, we would go to my great uncle Bill's house. And that's where everybody played dominoes and chip in for chitlins. Nasty, nasty, nasty.
Why did you say though chip in for chitlins?
Because he had this thing where he would chip in for chitlins.
Ew.
It was terrible.
Ew.
It took so Uncle
That's
Bill's.
Enough.
Okay, no, I got to give it to you. Because you're going to remember this episode.
They sure will.
So Uncle Bill's house smelled like cigarettes and chitlins.
Oh my God.
The whole year, y'all. The whole year. And I was like, man, can you get those chitlins out of here? We had them last year.
Ew.
So it was just a constant chitlin smell in his house. But he's a good guy, good dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
We done with that part.
We done with that part.
Let the church say.
Oh, yeah.
Amen. Tell me a little bit, my dear, about what it was like for you to come from a 2-parent household, because your experience is different than mine.
So my mom and dad were always on the same page. Now, I'm saying that for a kid that's looking at it from the outside. I'm quite sure my mother had some times where she disagreed. I'm quite sure there had some times where my father disagreed. But they were the kind of couple where they would go and have a conversation about it. You know, I don't know if there's if some of our listeners are out there and their parents would do the same. They would go behind that closed door in their room, close the door. You knock on it. Y'all, no, hey, go sit down. You know, and they would talk about it until they got on the same page. So it was like a deliberation. You know,
big word.
Yeah,
$20 word.
Is a 2005. 2005. So they would deliberate and then come out and they would be on the same page. So they always were on the same page or something like that. And my dad was the kind of father where he'd be like, isn't that right? And she would go, yeah, that's right. So I grew up with that. I grew up with my parents wouldn't do anything unless the other one knew.
So they agreed on everything.
They agreed on everything. So my mother
Well, wait a minute. They would come to an agreement on things and they would. So there was no, I'm just going to go ahead and do this and then without telling you that I'm going to do it. Of course, unless it was like a surprise, like a birthday or anniversary or something like that. But like decisions. Decisions
where the other person had to know.
Got it.
So there never was anything about, okay, I'm going to go to mom because I don't want to go to dad, because my mom would tell my dad.
Mom would dime you out?
Yeah, she'll tell it.
Oh, okay.
She'd be like, well, no, we got to stop right here. Let's go get dad and tell him. Wait a minute now. Hold on. We can't.
What was that like?
We got to rehearse it first now.
Get our story straight.
Yeah. What was that like?
Yes.
I hated it. I hated it a lot. I hated that she sometimes felt like, man, you can't do nothing by yourself. What is it? You know, but I think now, and I say now, I respect it. I understand it. But as a kid, you just want to be, who's the softest here? Let me hit the soft one.
Wow.
And mom was like, no. Mom was a G. She was like, no, we're not going for that. So
interesting. So you have said lots of things to me about your mom, who I think when we talk about some of the regrets that we have about when we have, when we connected, when we got married, is that I didn't have the opportunity to meet your mother. And so I miss that. So I hear so many good things about her. And so I'm curious, what were some of the things that she modeled for you in terms of what a wife looks like? And then also I'm curious about, like, how did your parents work together from your perspective to have the marriage that they had? Because they were married, of course, longer than you've been alive, but they were married for several years, like decades.
Yeah. I think there's so many different things that I could say, but just like touching on a few of them, I think what I learned from my mother is to have a heart for people, to give people grace. My mother was a master of giving people grace. The way that you're communicating right now, the way that you're acting right now may not be the way that I like for you to do that, but I understand there's something behind it.
Right. So she was able to see.
Yeah. I can see beyond this. And really, one of the things that just was really, really essential for her, and I think that she got it from her mother, was, if I control the way that I am, and you have nothing to, fight with, or you have nothing to, because many times my mother didn't get mad about much. If she got mad, then you were like, oh, okay, whoa, that's
like baby girl say, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. She didn't get mad about much because she was able to control herself to the point where if you look at me and I'm not, then it'll calm it down.
Right.
So.
Because if you argue with a fool, you got two fools arguing.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
I remember one time in think I was an adult, a young adult. I was talking to my mom about something and I got upset. I was like, well, Mom, no. My mom said to me, I'm not even going to entertain that with you. And I will talk to you later. And I said, wait a minute, whoa, what you talking about? She said, bye, Sean. And hung up the phone. It wasn't hanging up in my face, but it was controlling it to the point where I'm not going to allow myself to get to a place where we're both on 10.
Right. That's good.
Nothing can be accomplished if we're both on 10.
Right.
So
that takes some self-control.
Yeah. And I think she was a great unifier. She unified things. Like we just talked about how my parents had to agree on things for things to get done. My mother covered my father.
What does that mean?
I mean that there's a lot of things, both of them are deceased now. It's a lot of things in their death I've learned that, wow, I didn't know that.
Right.
And that was only because of my mother saying, this is what you go, this is what you get. You don't get
of your dad.
Yeah. You don't get this. You don't get to, these are the things that you will never know. These are things that you're not supposed to know. And I think in this day and time, with all the technology that we have, we know our kids know way too much, way too much. And we're venting to our kids. We're saying different things that when I grew up, my mother was like, no, you don't get to.
So she was a buffer.
Buffer. That's a good word. That's a good word. Buffer.
That's like $10.
That's $10. Yeah. $10. No change. Just $10 straight.
Told y'all.
Yeah.
Comedy.
So, yeah, we had a great and she was just an incredible person. And I don't say that. It's one of the things that I've said about my grandmother as well as my mother is that even if they weren't related to me, I would still want to be their friend.
That's big.
Yeah, they were just cool people, especially my mother was just a great person. And it took some time. It took some time for me to see it completely. But she was just a good human being and modeled for me, her only child, a lot of different things, a lot of things that I'm left with, a lot of things that I looked for in relationships. My mother presented to me in her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, what about your dad? Tell me about how did you see your dad in the role of husband?
My dad was a man's man. I say that all the time. He was a man's man. Men respect men.
Okay.
Yeah. Men that are listening, that's a word. That's a word that a man has to respect you for you and him to be in relationship. And my dad was that kind of person. He had the integrity, a high integrity. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
So word is bond.
Word is bond. And he presented that to me. Always do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
Even if it takes you all day to do it.
That part.
Do what you say you're going to do. Give your best in everything. And like most kids, it took some time to realize that.
Not you.
Yes, me. And I think at this age is where it starts to all come together. A lot of stuff. I find myself a lot of different times just sitting and saying, "Ooh, that's in the library. Ooh, I've got that
in the archives."
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Let me pull that out. So he was a Vietnam veteran. So
thanks for your service.
he spent he spent his service time with the Army in Vietnam in the height of the war. He came back as a veteran and
a decorated veteran. Don't leave that out.
Yeah. He worked for the Army for a long time.
So after he discharged?
After he discharged, he got a government job working with the Army.
Oh.
So as a offset printer, we don't have those anymore. Offset.
That's like an art to do that.
Offset printer. He was an amazing offset printer. Before we had Canva and all these great things that we have.
Love Canva.
I think we're going to have to pay for that. Okay, so
We already do.
so before all of this stuff that we used to create, there were offset printers who were able to duplicate documents on a printing press. Yeah.
That's that thing that you turn in a circle. And like back in the day when we were in elementary school, I am so dating myself, but we would have dittos. Remember you had a ditto and it was like that purple ink and you had to wait for it to dry. Oh, y'all don't know nothing about no dittos? 45 and up.
So that's what he did. Like I said, he would do what he said. And he didn't just do that for me. He would do that for everybody, everyone he met. And he would give you the shirt off his back if he had to.
I believe that.
You know, and he was just that kind of guy. And I think he passed on to me just that preciseness. So I had a mother who had a heart, who had a spirit of loveliness. And I had a father who also had a heart and a spirit of looking at people and finding out where's the need, where do I fit in, what can I do to enhance different things. And so when you put those two together, you have a dynamic duel of a couple who are all about presenting a spirit of help. Then on top of that, being Christians, they both were like, whatever. You know, my mother was also a singer and she ministered through song. She had a ministry called Ministry in Motion, and she would minister through acting out songs. And my father
the original praise dancer.
Yeah. And my father just stepping in, just finding where does he fit in this ministry, said, well, you know what? You're going to need somebody who's going to do good sound for you. So he learned sound.
Because he didn't want his girl out there.
Right.
Or somebody doing her stuff all willy-nilly.
Right. So he found a way to get into the ministry. And so he became the sound technician.
Wow.
And he started to buy different things. He said, well, you're going to need your own stuff. So let me figure out how to do this. So he did that to help her. When we moved from San Francisco to Sacramento, we moved to a brand new house, and I'm quite sure they didn't have the money to do all the furnishings and all that. So my dad, I don't know how he did it, but he just read a book and landscaped the whole house.
Wow.
Out of something that he said was in his mind. And he just went, never before having different stuff or tools or using these different things. And he just went and said, come on, get out here. Let's put this backyard together. And he put together a beautiful backyard, beautiful front yard. So, yeah.
So you learned a lot of stuff from both your parents. And would you say that was benefit for you? Having both parents in the home, do you feel like you got the best of both worlds? Meaning you got a little bit of the feminine spirit and a little bit of the masculine spirit, and you put those together and they kind of balanced each other out when they needed to?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yes, I spent a lot of time with my mother, but my dad wasn't, out of the picture or anything like that. The reason why I say I spent a lot of time with
your dad worked a lot.
My dad worked a lot. When we moved from the Bay Area to Sacramento, my dad couldn't find a job in the Sacramento area, so he worked in the San Francisco area for, I'm going to say, it had to be almost close to 10 years. So a lot of my dad wasn't actually in the house with us every day until I got into high school.
Okay.
So all that time he would leave on Sundays, stay in the Bay Area with his parents, work, and then come home on Fridays, and then, spend the weekend with us.
So he sacrificed that together time so that he could make sure that you all had everything you needed.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That's a lot.
Right. So it wasn't until, like I said, until I got into high school, maybe, where he found a job and he was there every day. Most of the time was just me and my mom, you know, latchkey kid, me and my mom. And we would talk to my dad daily and we would just do them. So my mom was there for my basketball games. But I want to share this with our audience. Even though I say that, one of the most interesting things that I remember about my dad is that at a drop of a hat, my dad would come home for anything. If
show up.
Yeah, just show up. Sometimes he was, okay, so I have to share this story with you. I know this is interesting. I have to share this story with you.
I think this is one of my favorites.
So my dad would, because he wasn't there, and my mom would work until like 5. I got out of school at like 3 something. But my parents were very strict about coming home after school. Don't linger. Just, you know, get your stuff. If you want to get you a snack or something, go stop at the 7-Eleven or whatever, get your stuff, get home. Because at 4 o'clock, my mom's going to call. So you need to be at home.
Pre-cell phones.
Yeah, you need to be at home.
Had to have a landline.
So my mom's number was 4 o'clock. My dad's number was 3:30. And I was like, okay. My mom said, oh, don't worry, he ain't here. Don't worry. See, but they agreed. But but she would be like, I give you until 4 o'clock. I'll call at 4. So I remember, you know, like most kids, my parents are not there. I know that I'm going to get there before 4 or whatever. And I'm just like, I got some time. I can chill. I can do what I want. I can hang out with my friends. I can take the long way home. You know, I can stop off at some places. And I knew it was after 4. And my mom, she's easygoing. She's, you know, she keep the rules, but she was easygoing. So if she called and I didn't answer, she would probably just be like, okay, maybe he doing something. I'll call back in a little while. So I came home after 4 and I opened the door and I did not expect, because nobody's ever home. I didn't expect anybody to be home, folks.
I'm scared.
And when I opened the door, I cracked the door. And so I saw.
Trying to creep in.
Yeah. And so I saw my mother's house shoes. And so she was sitting at the couch. Well, at least I thought. She was sitting at the couch watching TV. So I said, hey, oh, Lord, have mercy. Oh, my goodness. My dad was sitting there with my mom's house shoes on. And I'm so scared. I'm like shaking because I'm like, I didn't expect that. And my dad, being the guy that he is, said, see, I knew you wasn't expecting that. I knew. See, now what you doing getting home late?
See.
And I was like, why?
Is that where you get that from?
And I was like, why, man?
So funny.
I think that's like the first time I said that to him. Why, man? Why do you have the house shoes on?
Funny.
He's like, don't worry about that.
Oh, goodness.
You got home late. You shouldn't have done that.
I thought you were going to tell a different story, but that one's funny too.
Yeah, I've got some. I will share some. I got some funny ones. I got some funny ones about my dad.
You really do. So I'm curious. I'm going to ask another question of you. So,
sure.
What did your parents teach you about love?
That it's valuable.
Valuable.
That it's very valuable.
Okay.
I know this is Bible, but do unto others that you would have them do unto you.
Golden rule.
Yeah, yeah. The way that you love yourself, love other people. And I know sometimes that's difficult because it's getting into a space. Many of us don't always love ourselves good.
Very true.
So it's difficult for us to love others good. But that's one of the things that they taught with take what you have and love in the same way. Take that. Take all of you in love.
Tell me more about how that would apply to like love in a marital relationship.
my parents were just two people who worked, like I said, unified.
Mm-hmm.
It's about us. Everything starts with us.
Teamwork.
Yeah. So if I love you and you love me, and then together we love others, it creates this balance, creates a balance of it. You know, I remember one time in particular, and I will touch on this again, probably a later episode. There was a situation where there was a problem with somebody having a problem with my mom. And the first thing my dad says is, if they got a problem with you, they got a problem with me.
Hello? Come on, Dad. That's right.
If there's a problem, then there's a problem with both of us because we're one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't have a issue with my wife, or you can't have an issue with my husband and not have an issue with me. It just doesn't work. So that's what my dad, one of the things he said.
Sorry. Frankie Beverly and Maze came into my head. You know, the song. I'm not going to sing it because I'm not trying to get in trouble, but you know. Yeah, you know, I'm going. I told you all that we love music. You know, it has been such an amazing time. Listening to your story and where you came from, where your people come from. And there's so much more. I'm not sure if we need to do a part 2 to your origin story or not, but I think that that is an amazing start. And so we may end up, right, like peppering other episodes with some of our background. But baby, you want to tell them where they can find us, our email address, where they can send questions and things like that?
Definitely. We look forward to your questions. We do. We want all the questions you can ask. We are at the number 2, the letter X, JudahInTheGrove.com. So the 2 represents second time, and the X is around. So second time around.
Right. At
JudahInTheGrove.com. Send us your questions. We definitely want to help you, assist you, champion you, celebrate you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
that's good you said celebrate. So not just questions, but victories, right? Like things you've bumped into in your own marriage, whether it's the first time you've been married or the second time you've been married or the third time you've been married, wherever you are, even in your singleness, right? Like if you have a story that you want to share, we can highlight that. We don't have to use your name if you don't want to, but we want to be able to not only use our story to celebrate marriage and love and children, but your stories as well, because your stories edify us, just like we pray ours edifies you. So what we got on the next episode?
I believe that we are going to hear from Miss Michaela.
Kayla, what they call me.
Story.
Kayla, what they call me.
Yeah. And we're going to hear from what her growing up was like. How was her family?
Yeah.
I think we need to hear from her on our next episode.
Wonderful.
And then maybe we'll come back to me. And then maybe we'll go back to Michaela. Somewhere in this season, you're going to get the full story.
Right. There's so much, we talking,
there's a lot.
5 decades plus.
Yeah, there's a lot of material and a lot of stuff that we want to share. We want to be transparent about. Yeah.
So until then, we are so excited to have spent this time with you. And until we meet again, we hope you are well. We hope you are healthy. And we hope that you thrive.
All right.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us this week. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you in our next episode.